Okay, so now we're going to go over our Boids. I did not give these guys enough credit in my blog posts, as they took much more than a week. I think I started them around the beginning of Christmas, and I think we finished them about 3 weeks before the final hand-in, which is quite scary, but we got it done, which is good. So, first thing first, let's follow the event tick. We begin with an environment check, which is a sphere trace to see what's around them. Other Boids, the capital ship, and the player ship, essentially. Also asteroids. Essentially, what can I crash into or shoot? So, if they don't pick up anything in their radius, which I believe is 101,024, 2,500. I bumped it up a bit. They set the separation velocity to 0. This means that they will focus entirely on their target destination and not worry about steering to avoid anything. And then I just start the check again to make it as fast as possible. This is a custom for loop, which basically lets me specify how many loops we have per tick. The problem is that the Boids are an exponentially growing in calculations, because if you have one Boid and one other Boid and they kind of collide with each other, you have 2 calculations. If you have 4 Boids colliding with each other, you have 16 calculations, as each Boid has to do a calculation for the 3 other Boids. I think my maths is actually wrong on that. Anyway, 12 calculations. It's a big problem. So with this, I just say do one calculation per tick, which is, a fairly hefty thing. Going, okay, get its speed relative to me, distance, weight, all that sort of thing. But it does the job. If I was to go and redo this, I'd maybe add things like take the player's frame rate, and according to that, adjust how many loops per tick we do to make the AI a bit more responsive and accurate. So we hit something, we go, does it have the flocking interface, which is essentially other AI, or the player? If it does, we get its basically position relative to the AI. We multiply it by a force, and we also multiply it by the distance. So if the scan radius is 2,500 and it's 2,500 units away, the force is 0. If it's 0 units away, the force will be 2,500. And then we map it to a range and clamp it, so it's basically 0 to 1. That then gets added to an average separation force. So then according to whatever's nearest, it'll kind of avoid that the most, but it'll still take everything else into account. And yeah, that then just sets the separation velocity. And this gets all added up. Where is it? I believe it's here. We take all the different forces and add them together to create our final velocity, which gets plugged in here. So the other ones that are worth going over are the squad average velocity. This essentially keeps them kind of all roughly going in the same direction and gives them a very kind of strong, cohesive squad feeling, I suppose. If I turn that off, they'll all just go off wherever they want. They'll path towards the same target, but it won't be as a flock. It'll be as a group of completely separate actors. This is a fairly straightforward force. We go get the player location, or whatever the target of the Boid is, separate it from the Boid's location, or separate the Boid's location from the target location, and normalize it to get a variable of 0 to 1. This is then multiplied by a chase force. So essentially this lets the designers adjust how aggressive they are in chasing their targets. We also have a multiplier for whether or not it's the squad leader. This is important because if they're not the squad leader, we want them to be very, very aggressive about chasing it.